We begin tonight with a 6 News exclusive. A nationwide serial killer now officially linked to an Omaha murder for decades, and it happened decades ago. Good evening, I'm John Nicely.
And I'm Lauren Taylor. In fact, she was one of his early victims. As Brian Mastery reports, the suspect has been sketching pictures of his victims for law enforcement.
From Arkansas to Mississippi, Georgia, and Maryland, one of the nation's most prolific serial killers has been drawing images from memory of some of the women he says he beat and strangled to death from 1970 to 2005. Last year, 78-year-old Samuel Little, who is serving 3 life sentences, started to talk, explaining to investigators the number of people he killed and in what state. Texas Rangers say so far he's confessed to 90 murders. One of those is the murder of a woman here in South Omaha in 1973. Her name, Agatha White Buffalo. The body of the 34-year-old was found stuffed in one of these barrels at 27th and N. She had been strangled to death. While Omaha police never interviewed Sam Little, his recent confession, along with witness descriptions and a vehicle match from 1973, were enough to move forward. Her murder is no longer a cold case. Omaha police tell me it's officially classified now as exceptionally cleared. That's a term we don't often hear, exceptionally cleared. What's it mean? Well, police will use that phrase on a case when they're able to check the boxes on these 4 conditions. First, detectives have enough evidence to arrest and prosecute someone. Second, they know who the suspect is. And third, where he is located. In this case, Sam Little is in a Texas prison. And 4, since the serial killer is already serving life sentences without the possibility of parole, arresting him for the murder of Agatha White Buffalo is outside OPD's control, making it exceptionally cleared. It took 46 years for this Omaha homicide to get out of the cold case file, just one of a number of murders nationwide that may finally give families at least one answer: who did it? With photographer Nick Bohan, Brian Mastery, 6 News.
Investigators tell us they aren't aware of Sam Little sketching a picture of Agatha White Buffalo. We're told detectives have been in touch with her family about the latest developments. From the car to the bar to the driver, decades later, this information becomes key to helping a family get justice. Good evening, I'm Lauren Taylor.
And I'm John Nicely. Detectives say the smallest details from witnesses can be the difference in catching a killer. That's true in this case.
In a follow-up to a 6 News exclusive, Brian Mastery explains the connection. He joins us live.
John, Lauren, what witnesses told police about what happened here outside the Happy Bar in 1973 turned out to help solve a killer case. They were able to describe the man who eventually became the killer, what he was driving. Information told to Omaha police from 46 years ago seemed to fade away until detectives caught a break recently. For the first time, we're putting a face to an Omaha cold case that's now been cleared. This is Agatha White Buffalo. In 1973, she took a bus from South Dakota to Omaha for a lung biopsy. Little did she know that a man she met downtown one November night would become one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history.
Those are questions we're curious about, too. Where does she fit into the start?
They have a lot of reports. They talk to a lot of people.
Last fall, Lieutenant Stephanie Fedoni with the Omaha Police Department's homicide unit read through the cold case binder, giving the 45-year-old unsolved murder a fresh perspective. Coincidentally, 2 days later, she took a call from a Texas Ranger.
They had a gentleman who was confessing to multiple murders across the United States, and they believe one of them had occurred in Omaha, Nebraska. Just because I had reviewed the Agatha White Buffalo Chief case, I knew it was her.
In November of 1973, Agatha White Buffalo's body was found in a 55-gallon drum in South Omaha, her red coat nearby. She had been strangled to death. Fast forward 45 years to Sam Little, the Texas inmate who, once he was caught for murder, finally decided to talk about other things he's done in the past and mentioned killing a woman in Omaha in the early 70s.
And I was able to ask a couple questions back about what he was driving at that time, and she had said a white Thunderbird, and our suspect was listed in our reports as having driven a white Thunderbird.
Lieutenant Fedoni thinks Sam Little may ultimately be linked to more than 100 murders across the country. It serves as a reminder for other victims left wondering about their case.
I hope everyone maintains some level of hope and that they realize we never give up. We keep these cases. We keep the files, the reports, the books. We're always looking when people come in and say, well, I knew about this homicide, and we'll ask them about other homicides during that time period. You just never know when something might happen that'll reopen the case.
So far, Sam Little has confessed up to 90 murders across the nation. And John Lauren, Omaha police tell me that there are no other cold cases in Omaha that match his MO. But what do you know? From 1973, great witness descriptions here of just seeing 3 people leaving the bar ended up leading to a murder case being solved. Reporting live, Brian Mastry, 6 News.
And new tonight, family reacts to finding out who murdered their mother way back in the early 70s.
And as Brian Master reports, she is one of dozens of murders committed by the same man. It's a story you'll only see right here on 6 News.
When someone strangled to death Agatha White Buffalo in 1973 and dumped her body in a 55-gallon drum in South Omaha, her family at the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota was devastated. After all, their mother came to Omaha for a medical procedure and ended up dead. The case grew colder and colder by the year.
I want my mother to be remembered as a kind, gentle woman. She was a housewife and mother. There was 8 of us.
Agatha White Buffalo had 8 children. This silk portrait is on the wall of her oldest, Joyce. In 1973, Joyce was 16. She's been waiting for justice for her mother for 46 years.
And I wanted people to know that she was, a human being, not just some street trash.
Perhaps maybe the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history at this point.
Lieutenant Stephanie Fedoni with the Omaha Police Department took a call last fall from a Texas Ranger. A serial killer named Sam Little started naming names and cities. He said he killed a Native American female in Omaha in the early 70s. Omaha detectives now had a confession and evidence and reports saved from 1973 to back it up. The cold case file said that Agatha White Buffalo was spotted leaving here at the Happy Bar at 16th and California with a guy who was later described to look like Sam Little. And he drove away in a white Thunderbird. That was the car he had then.
It's so long for them, but it does kind of close that chapter of what happened to Mom. They knew she was murdered, but they didn't know who or why, and he doesn't give the why.
For the White Buffalo family, it's been a long road coming and a sense of relief. With photographer M.H. Danker, I'm Brian Master reporting 6 News.
The oldest daughter tells Brian that the family didn't have the money for a grave marker back in 1973. Agatha White Buffalo was buried in an unmarked grave in South Dakota.